Never stop reading the Bible. So, we're going to be breaking down this one single vision that actually unfolds across 3 whole chapters. The best way to think about it is kind of like a 3-act play. Act 1 tells us that judgment is coming. Act 2 reveals why it's coming. And Act 3, well, that shows us exactly how it's all going to go down.
All right, so our first act, chapter 7, kicks things off with a really stark and urgent tone. I mean, this is not some vague warning about the distant future. This is a flat-out declaration that the end is here, right now.
The vision builds this sense of urgency through just sheer repetition. Get this, in this one short chapter, the word end shows up 6 different times. It's like this overwhelming drumbeat, just hammering home the message that this is it, it's final. And it doesn't stop there. The sense of immediacy is driven home even harder. The phrase "is coming" is repeated 7 times, creating this relentless rhythm. You can almost feel the consequences getting closer, like they're literally arriving at the city gates.
So the message of this first part is just crystal clear: certainty. There's no room for doubt. But it leaves us with a huge question, right? Why? Why is this incredibly severe final judgment happening? And to answer that, the vision takes a really dramatic turn.
And that brings us to chapter 8. The tone completely shifts here. From a warning to more of an investigation. God basically grabs the prophet Ezekiel and says, "Come with me. I am going to show you exactly why this is all happening."
Now, just to ground us a little bit, let's look at the timeline. This vision happens in the 6th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, which is about 14 months after Ezekiel's first big vision. So this isn't some timeless fable. It's a spiritual journey happening at a very specific and very desperate moment in history.
So Ezekiel, who's physically in exile in Babylon, is literally picked up by the Spirit of God and taken on this visionary tour of the temple back in Jerusalem. He's getting a behind-the-scenes look, a peek behind the curtain at the corruption that has totally taken over the city's most sacred place. And what he sees is, well, it's just shocking. And it unfolds in 4 escalating stages. First, right at the entrance, he sees a pagan idol called the Idol of Jealousy. Then, deeper inside, he finds this secret room where Israel's own elders are worshiping images of animals. After that, he sees women performing a ritual, mourning for a Mesopotamian god named Thomas. But the final scene is the absolute worst. In the holiest court of the temple, men have turned their backs on God's sanctuary to bow down and worship the rising sun.
All of this points to one central problem: idolatry. And look, this wasn't just about breaking a rule. This was a deep, profound betrayal of their entire relationship with God. The very heart of their nation, the temple itself, was now filled with the worship of everything but Him. So with this tour done, the reason for the judgment is just devastatingly clear. So with the why firmly established, the vision shifts again in chapter 9 to the how. The tour of sin is officially over, and the sentence is about to be carried out, and the tone becomes chillingly formal.
A loud command goes out, and 6, let's call them divine executioners, are summoned. Their orders start the judgment right there, at the sanctuary that had been so defiled. But there's a 7th figure with them, a man dressed in linen, holding a writer's inkhorn. He gets a totally different job. Go through the city first and put a mark on the forehead of anyone who is genuinely grieving over all the corruption. Only those with the mark will be spared.
As the judgment begins, starting with those corrupt elders, Ezekiel is just horrified. He falls on his face and pleads, "Sovereign Lord, are you going to destroy everyone?" But God's response is just resolute. The sin is too great, the land is filled with injustice, and the sentence is final. I will not look on them with pity or spare them.
And the vision closes with this simple, chilling report. The man in linen comes back and just says, "I have done as you commanded. The task is complete. Judgment is over." The vision just ends right there in this stark, absolute silence.
Wow. So after that incredibly intense 3-part vision, what are we left with? Let's try to boil it down to the core messages. Let's break it down really simply. Chapter 7, that's all about certainty, the idea that consequences for our actions are inevitable. Chapter 8 is about justification, showing us that judgment isn't random, it's a direct response to specific things. And finally, Chapter 9 demonstrates consequence, that what's done in secret will, eventually, be brought into the light and dealt with.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world where it can often feel like actions don't have consequences, this vision presents this unbreakable link between the two. It kind of forces us to ask,
What does real accountability, for ourselves and for our communities, actually look like? It's a challenging question and definitely one worth thinking about. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. The source for this deep dive was the Center Studio.